Hi, I'm Amanda from Avatar Uncovered, and today I want to speak to you about deceptive recruitment, cults and Avatar. And specifically with deceptive recruitment, I want to speak to you about Avatar's Compassion Project. So what is deceptive recruitment? Deceptive recruitment is when a group such as a cult like Avatar doesn't disclose to you what it's really about. So there's complete lack of disclosure and a complete lack of transparency. And there is this facade, and this facade presents the group or the cause as something that it isn't. So within Avatar, the Compassion Project is used quite a bit at the beginning to present Avatar as being compassionate and loving and caring and having care for humanity and care for others. So for those of you that aren't aware, the Compassion Project is Avatar's kind of thing about increasing the amount of compassion in the world. And I say thing, it's like their kind of mission, so I say, to increase the amount of compassion in the world. And it's actually a Buddhist exercise. It's been used many, many times. So it isn't even Harry Palmer's exercise, it's been borrowed. That's the first kind of con. Is that when you're in the Avatar network, you kind of like taught to worship Harry Palmer for this, for his compassion exercise, for the Compassion Project, and how amazing it is in the transformation. And people are literally, like some of the more devoted masters are mesmerized with Harry Palmer with regards to this. But this is a borrowed exercise. And that's not transparent straight away. So that's the first thing. So it's about increasing the amount of compassion in the world. And there's 5 steps. I won't go through it all, but do take a look, have a look, maybe Google it, the Avatar Compassion Project. But do understand this is a recruitment technique. And I'll move on to why and what compassion really is within the Avatar network, especially as you get further in. So basically, Avatar at their booths, so you'll see them, you'll have booths, or they'll have booths at Mind, Body, Spirit festivals. I've seen them at farmer markets, even like primary schools, secondary schools, sort of fete and fairs, business networks and groups, basically anywhere where they can kind of get a booth. And you'll see these all kind of lined up. And it will be about handing them out and informing them of the Compassion Project and running through these particular steps, which are supposed to help you feel more compassion for someone, which I argue they don't. And if you have a look, and you have a look at it from an objective point of view, and have a look at it after you've watched this video and an understanding of what compassion really is, you may begin to see that more. So con number 2 is that the compassion exercise is rarely used in Avatar. So compassion isn't a teaching on the Avatar course, or a teaching, like a main teaching, or a teaching within the advanced courses. We don't learn about compassion or even practice compassion within the Avatar network. It's mentioned at the beginning to try and lure you in as a recruitment tactic. It's mentioned in the mini courses. So Avatar's mini courses, which you can find online, these tend to be used as bait. So you may have undergone an info hour, or had someone approach you with a Compassion Project, gone through an info hour, or just something to do with what Avatar course is about, and you're kind of not really interested, or you might sort of be interested, but there's no way you're going to pay for it, then the mini courses kind of come out. And you'll be invited for a 2.5, 3-hour free mini course, which you'll do with another Avatar master. So the compassion exercise is mentioned throughout these, I believe, in the forgiveness exercise. And then it's mentioned again in the 2-day resurfacing workshop as well. It's mentioned once. Find out here exactly where. So exercise number 17, compassion. So if we move to page 90 of the resurfacing, it's literally just exercise 17, the compassion exercise. Honesty with yourself leads to compassion for others, and you'll be asked to just go through this exercise, and it's done as a group. It's not mentioned through the rest of the Avatar course. It's not mentioned within the Master's course, throughout the advanced courses. It's not like compassion is a teaching or a philosophy within Avatar. So that's in itself is deception. Another thing that you'll find within with regards to the Avatar Compassion Project is that it's accompanied by love bombing, and it's accompanied by lots of, butterflies and feel good. It's a feel good thing. It makes you feel good. It makes the Avatar Masters feel good, and it makes you feel good that they're doing something of value to the world. So you find cults hide behind this a lot. You'll find they hide behind human rights campaigns. They hide behind personality tests that seem to really help you. They just hide behind this facade. So Avatar, this facade being compassion, love, enlightenment, care, doing what's right for someone. So I just want to go into now what compassion really is, the meaning of hypocrisy, and how compassion really is used within Avatar and the Avatar network, because I feel this is really important, because this is how people get sucked in. This is how I got sucked in. One of the things I got sucked in. But it kind of keeps you going. Another thing that kind of sucked me in of Harry Palms was the whole love, precious humanity. So he has this book of quotes, and it's all around love, precious humanity. And I can tell you now, as you get further into this network, this whole thing flips and turns on its head, and there is none of that at all. So we'll just go further into that now. So first of all, I just want to read out from the English dictionary the true meaning of compassion. So the true meaning of compassion is a strong feeling of sympathy and sadness for the suffering or the bad luck of others, and a wish to help them. The meaning of hypocrisy. So hypocrisy, a situation in which someone pretends to believe something that they do not really believe, or that is the complete opposite of what they do or say at another time. So first of all, I'll refer to Harry Palmer's view on those that are seen as fertile ground or not fertile ground, and some that are worthless courses and not worthless courses. And this straight away to me is where it kind of like flips. So his perspective, for example, with the homeless people, is that they're a worthless cause. He talks about this in his videos, and I gather he's talked about this kind of whole philosophy a lot of wizards courses recently as well. Almost like they kind of like they have created it, and they're a worthless cause. So again, I just want to remind everyone of the meaning of compassion: a strong feeling of sympathy and sadness for the suffering or bad luck of others, and a wish to help them. Just classing all homeless people into one bracket, seriously. Do you know why they're homeless? You're talking about all of these countries that you represent Avatar courses. So 40, 50 countries all around the world, and you have just classed homeless people as being worthless cults. Straight away to me, that is hypocrisy. And that's what you have to look out for in cults, is start looking out for things that don't match what the facade is. Look at their actions. Look at what they actually do, not the front, because that's where you get trapped. It's like the mind kind of like sees the good things and the fluffy things. Where they're talking about compassion, well, they're talking about indoctrination and how I need to watch out from being indoctrinated. Or they're talking about how, everything's a belief and I'm empowered through looking at my beliefs. But really what's going on, what their actions are, and what's actually going on within the group, and what the leaders actually say, and what their actions are, is where you need to have your attention, not on what is over here, such as just, like a kind of pretty compassion exercise card. So yeah, hypocrisy, a situation in which someone pretends to believe something that they do not really believe, or that is the opposite of what they say, the opposite of what they do or say at another time. So that to me, straight away, does not represent compassion at all. It's not that black and white. Number 2, practices within the Avatar network. My gosh, when I began to really see this pan out and when I was leaving, it's kind of heartbreaking. really. It's confusing and it's heartbreaking. And I suppose from my perspective, I was extremely gullible, that I just completely bought into this. So when I started to really see the hypocrisy and I was at the other side of it, where, I really saw compassion really meant within Avatar, it was a shock. And I think that's part of the healing process for many Avatar masters that have been betrayed by this organisation, because it just really doesn't match what you're taught and what the facade is. So within Avatar, to give you some ideas of what their true meaning of compassion is. Say someone goes through all the courses, and not everyone, but the majority of people that have gone through all the courses and they stay on the path and they do internships and they keep going and they get into complete financial stress. A lot of people, their families will break down in their home, and they'll be borrowing against their car and their home, and they'll be borrowing from other Avatar masters if they can't find the money. And let's say their life just completely falls apart. They don't get students, which is kind of the norm as well. And they don't get students, and all of a sudden, that spell begins to break, and their life's a complete mess. And the perspective from the trainer and the QMs will be, well, that's just your creation. That's something you've created, or it's something you haven't been willing to look at on course. And the trainer will just dump that person and they may not hear from them again, especially if all their finance has dried up and there's just no other means of getting it, and they haven't gotten students and they haven't lived up to the expectations of the group. Then they'll just be dropped just like that, and they'll be blamed for it. And then the rumour will go around the Avatar network that it again is something they haven't looked at course, or they weren't willing to take responsibility for humanity. So I just want to remind you again what compassion is according to the English dictionary, not just according to the 5 steps on a piece of paper or card like this. So compassion being a strong feeling of sympathy and sadness for the suffering or bad luck of others, and a wish to help them. So within Avatar, there's only a wish to help someone if they're considered to be on the path. And on the path means being able to somehow access finance and keep going no matter what. So if someone has, like the whole scenario I've just presented, then there'll be no wish to help them. There'll be no wish to help them whatsoever. They'll just be dumped. So that's compassion within the Avatar network. Another example of compassion. Someone, as a consequence of doing an Avatar course, and it might not be because they've done the Avatar course, they might generally feel this way. They break up with their husband or their partner, and their family breaks apart because of this. It's stressful. Of course it is. You're going through a divorce, and you may get a little bit of understanding at the beginning from the trainers and QMs, and then you'll go again and you're still stressed and you're crying and you're really upset, and the perspective will be, you're just making a big fuss out of it. Go and do these Avatar exercises, which you use usually kind of like a sequence of feel-its and label-its and rundowns, seen this happen. Go and do that until you kind of see a different perspective and you're kind of not stuck in that creation anymore. It doesn't kind of matter if that person still goes on in pain and agony of losing their marriage and the whole destruction. It's like just kind of a get over it kind of a thing. And I've even heard QMs refer to this as marriage being an indoctrination. So it's just an indoctrination, get over it, move on. So again, that's the lack of compassion, true compassion within the Avatar network. It almost turns narcissistic. There's no feeling and connection. Again, the true meaning of compassion being a strong feeling of sympathy and sadness for the suffering or bad luck of others and a wish to help them. I would say like you would feel quite sympathetic for someone that's just lost their whole world. Yes, of course you might not want them to stay in it, but there's a natural cycle of grieving for people. It generally is destructive when someone's marriage falls apart, especially if they've got children. And within the Avatar network, they don't care. They really, I could swear in a moment. So, to give another example, and this happens not just with those that have undertaken the courses, like even the basic course or the advanced course or the wizards course. This has happened as well with people that have been part of the network and the group. So part of the advanced intern program or interning avatar masters is that they may actually have a breakdown, really psychologically become quite a mess, not just on courses but within their network, and they have to, you know, go into hospital, or they just basically can't be part of the network anymore, and they actually go into deep depression or anxiety, and they sometimes can't get a job again. I get cases like this quite often, but they go years and years. The perspective from a trainer and QMs is that that's their creation. So even when they leave the group in that particular moment, something like that has happened to them, they'll just be dumped and kind of like passed off and forgotten about. And then the training will be about how we need to focus more on those who are still on the path and those that are going to get students. So this person who has been dedicated, you know, that has done all the courses, given up so much for the group and the cause, ends up having a psychotic break, is blamed for it, and then dumped. And the rumour again will go around the network, or something will be made up which isn't true, and that's the end of that, and they won't hear from people again. So again, that is another example of the true compassion within the avatar network. And the reason I'm pointing this out is that it really is the complete opposite of that facade, and the whole deception of what can lure you into these type of groups and into the kind of like into that whole game of keep doing more courses, thinking that things are wrong with you. I mean, that's another deception within avatar as well, is that you'll start out thinking it's one thing, and as you move through all the courses and you move through being part of the network, you'll daily be looking at what's wrong with you, and everything comes back to you. Everything is to do with you. There is no compassion, because compassion is to do with true connection with someone, truly feeling where they are, truly feeling where they are at that particular time, feeling their suffering, but that there's no feeling of suffering at all within the avatar network. It's about what is good for the leaders, for the mission, that everything has to be aligned to Avra and Harry's mission. Everything has to be aligned to the group. There is not a care in the world if your heart is broken. There's not a care in the world if you lose everything. And I mean everything. I saw some stupid decisions, more stupid than mine, like really stupid decisions, which were led by QMs and advanced interns. And I don't want to keep making excuses for the QMs and AIs, but if you understand just the amount of indoctrination that they have undertaken, and they're just learning from what's coming down from the top, and that's exactly what cults are. They're a top-bottom kind of setup. So they are just kind of basically parroting what they've learned. But at the end of the day, there still has to be some sort of responsibility taken. And a lot of lives have been ruined, and it's hypocrisy, and there absolutely is no compassion. So I hope that helps you to understand what compassion really means within the avatar network. I know they look really pretty. I know they can help you get into your heart space. That's how many of us were lured in, or how we felt good about continuing being avatar masters, but it's deception, and it really isn't what happens within the avatar network. And it's very sad for those that end up committing and spending tens and tens of thousands, and they find out quite rudely and quite abruptly that it is the complete opposite of love, compassion and enlightenment within the avatar network. So if you'd like to find out more about what we're doing at Avatar Uncovered, read our exposure, read more about our identification of the abuses and transgressions that are taking place within the network, our cult assessment, all the other work that's kind of related to all of that, then just visit our website, avataruncovered.is. And also we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Thank you so much for your time, and have a fantastic day and week. Bye.